So take a few minutes to come and be here now. Some suggestions are to sit upright and connect with your breath. Come to your back and do that pandiculation movement where we really open from the inside out, stretch from the inside out. Or if you need to be a little more active, you could start in downward dog, do a couple sun salutations. I will meet you on our backs on the mat. Have your blocks handy and we'll see you there. Okay, so on your back, stretch through arms above the head, stretch through legs, pressing opposite heel away. The speed that you go is up to you. Just moving back and forth through this. And then we'll meet with soles of the feet on the floor, knees bent, and arms behind, hands behind your head, interlaced at the back of your skull. We'll do a little unwinding here. So on your inhale, draw your low back away from the floor, pubic bone away from navel. And you can open up the cervical spine as well. So pointing your chin up towards the ceiling. And then on your exhale, draw your low back towards the floor, bring elbows together, tuck chin, lift head and shoulders. Inhale, press your elbows wide and into the floor, lift chin towards ceiling, low back away from the floor. Exhale, round towards the floor, bring elbows together, lift head and shoulders. So unwinding here, spinal undulation. How is it in your spine this morning or this evening? Whenever you're joining, how is it? And you can release the next time you come back down to the floor, release your arms out into the T position. Take your legs long, toes pointed up towards shins, and then just drop your toes, all 10 toes to the right, back to center, and then all 10 toes to the left. So your feet are moving back and forth like a little windshield wiper. And you could even take your hands to the top of your thighs. Bring your awareness to the movement of the head of your femur. So as you move your feet back and forth, your legs will go one into external rotation and the other into internal rotation. Sense this movement. And then come back to the center. Okay. And now with legs long, bend your right knee and slide your right knee out to the right. Lift your knee towards the ceiling, sole the foot to the floor, draw your knee across midline, and then straighten your leg back out. Slide your right knee up so the foot stays in contact the whole time. Sole the foot to the floor, draw your knee across midline and back out. So you're circling through your hip, right? And your foot stays in contact with the floor the whole time. And go at your own speed. So we just awaken sensation in the hip, right hip. Great. Then you can straighten through that leg. Slide the left knee up. Sole the foot to the floor, knee across midline, straighten back out. And now we're doing the same thing on the opposite side. So as you slide your knee up towards your shoulder, that's external rotation of the leg. Sole the foot to the floor, then across midline, internal rotation, and then straighten back out. You get a sense of your femur articulating in your hip joint as you make this movement. Foot is grounded to the floor. Great. And then coming back, both legs long, arms in the T position, in the goalpost or the T position. And now turn your feet to the right and slide both knees up to the right side of your body. Your knees will be kind of floating in the air, and then slide your legs back down, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Turn toes to the left, slide both knees up, and straighten your legs back out. Feet to the right, slide both knees up, straighten back out. Do this a few more times on your own. Sliding your knees up towards one side and then straightening back out. Next time you come back to the first side, slide your knees up to the right, extend left leg, left arm long. So you have opening through the left side body, and then release. Feet go over to the left, slide both knees up to the left, and reach the right arm long. Great. Just back and forth a few times that way. Pop up and take a look if you need to. Hopefully you can follow the verbal instructions. Great. Okay. And then after you've done an even number, come back to the center and bend your knees and draw your knees into your chest, towards your chest, cross at the ankles, take your hands to the front of your shins, and then this is child's pose on our back, really accessible to almost everybody, more than on our knees. So just take a couple breaths here. You might even rock back and forth, making connection to the kidney spaces right and left, just feeling into that area of your body. How is it now? Then you could take some circles with your knees and change the direction of the circles. Great. Then soles of the feet back to the floor, knees bent, and we'll press the feet into the floor, lift the hips, bring the arms behind us, and then roll back down. So just a cascading bridge. A little bit bigger movement now in the spine and the hips. How is it in those areas of your body right now? Pressing, lifting the hips, letting the arms come behind, and then rolling down one vertebra at a time as your arms come back, landing beside you at about the same time as your hips land back on the floor. Take a couple more. Great, and then we'll meet back down on the floor, hips on the floor, knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor, arms alongside your body. And now bring your arms out to a T or thereabouts, and then just inhale and press your forearms into the floor. Feel a little lift through your upper chest, and then release. You'll probably arch away from the floor a little bit as well in the low back. That's great. Press and lift. feel like an opening through the collarbones, upper pecs. And just pulse that a few more times. Allow your low back to lift away from the floor as well. Great. And then just release and rest. And now cross left ankle onto right knee. So the figure 4, and then just draw your knees in towards your chest. Don't make it too aggressive here. In fact, you might not even string the arms at all or grab the leg. Just bring your knees into towards your chest with your functional mobility of your hip flexor. Great. You could isometrically press the left knee away, or you could let your knees float over to the right. So just getting some sensation in the outer hip, right? Then just lower your feet back to the floor and switch right ankle onto left knee. Draw your knees in towards your chest without using your arms. Just get that sensation in the outer hip, buttocks. You could isometrically press the right knee away and then draw or let your knees float over to the left. Okay, and then release. Stretch through both legs. Stretch arms overhead. Maybe pulse through the heels a couple times. Just come back to sort of a neutral position. And then arms in the goalpost. Turn your feet to the right. Slide both knees up to the right. And roll right onto your right side, resting your head in your outstretched bottom arm or on your hand. And then look at the orientation of your feet to your sacrum and slide your feet back till the heels are lined up with your sacrum. So the knees are resting together, inner edges of the feet resting together, and the heels are lined up with your sacrum. Okay, and we're going for the clamshell here. So we're going to lift this top leg and bring it back down. And again, anywhere from 12 to 20 repetitions, but emphasis on squeezing the inner feet together. Really feel your inner feet squeezing together. Really pressing together the inner feet. Head can be whatever's comfortable for you, outstretched lower arm or resting in your hand. Great. These are great for our outer hips. These clamshells, really great to help us with all of our standing poses and just our movement through life in general, walking, standing, skiing, whatever. Next time your top knee is lifted, straighten through that top leg. So the leg is hovering now. The foot is lined up with the short edge of your mat and your toes are pulled back towards your shins, and then just make some circles with that foot. Like you have a little rag on the end of your foot and you're cleaning your mirror so you can look at your reflection better. Both directions now, both directions. Pause in the middle, bend through that top leg and take your top foot with your top hand. The bottom knee really presses into the floor to help you balance. We'll be revisiting these shapes again a little bit. And then just release, let both knees rest together. Slide back out through center and back onto your back. Pressing through both heels. Come back to center, reach the arms long. Then arms down to your side or in the goalpost. Turn both feet to the left, slide your knees up to the other side. Roll right onto your left side, stacking knees and heels lined up with sacrum. So that means you take your knees down towards the left corner of your mat a little bit. So they're not coming straight out from your hips, right? A little refinement there. And then squeezing the feet together. Let's do some clamshells on this side. Really engaging the lower butt muscles, the outer hip, the glutes. All this nice work for standing postures and for standing, working, moving around, running, jumping, all the things, dancing that we like to do. Great. Somewhere between 12 and 20 repetitions. Next time the upper leg is lifted, the knee is lifted, straighten through that leg. So your top leg is parallel with the long edge of your mat, toes pointing back towards shins, and then take some circles. Make some circles like you're cleaning your mirror with the bottom of your foot. Both directions, both directions. Then bring that foot back, take your foot with your top hand or grab your pants if you can't get your foot, and then open, press lower, the lower leg, really press that leg into the floor. That'll help with your balance. And hold there for another full breath cycle. Release and roll back onto your back. Take a breath to integrate. And then legs long once more. Arms to the side or to the goalpost position. Turn your right toes out to the right as you drag your right knee up to the right again. So right knee is out to the right. And then slide your right foot into your left thigh. Slide it in so you're in tree, Vrksasana. Now, if you can't make contact, that's okay. Just go as close as you can. Really press the straight leg into the floor. Your ankles flex so the toes of the straight leg are pulling back towards your shin, pressing through the heel. That leg is in Tadasana. The bent leg externally rotated here, and foot, if possible, into the inner thigh. Now, you could take something underneath your knee, like your block, to allow you to get just out of the outer knee, just to allow you to get to the inner thigh a little easier. It's probably, a block is probably a little bit too fat, maybe the blanket. But if you can press in and find Supta Vrksasana, really feel for your pelvis being level here, right? Good. And then release the effort, slide both legs long again. Maybe shimmy it out a little bit. And then externally rotate the left leg by bringing the left knee out to the left. Make sure that your right leg is really engaged in Tadasana, and then slide left foot into right thigh, pressing foot against thigh, thigh against foot. And you've probably guessed that we're going to end up in Vrksasana standing at some point. So we're just sensing this action on the ground. Now you could bring your hands to heart center here. Didn't do it on the other side, but or up above your head. Right, there we go. Then release, slide both legs long, toes towards shins, so you're in Tadasana, and just integrate that ever so slightly. Great. Now from here, bend your knees and stack your knees over your hips. Okay, imagine you're in table. You can bring your arms to goalpost arms. Okay, great. So now extend the left leg, hover it above the ground, and extend the right arm and hover it above the ground. Okay, and then come back to starting position. Extend the right leg long, the left arm long, hover. Okay, we do this on our knees. We call this spinal balance or bird dog. Come back to center and just move back and forth this way. You'll notice you need some core engagement, so upstroke the navel, draw the side ribs in, and move back and forth. Opposite arm, opposite leg, hovering above the ground. Because we're on our back, it really allows us to really find this really stable, neutral pelvis position, right? If it's too much to hover the arm and the leg, just hover the leg maybe and let the arm rest, or hover for a second and then drop them down and then pick them up and go back. But if you can hover, that's good core work for you. Let's do a couple more on each side. And then the next time you come back to center, just let the soles of your feet come to the floor, knees rest together, arms alongside your body or the goalpost. Take a full round of breath to integrate that. Beautiful. Then you can roll to one side or cross your ankles in some way, grab the edge of your mat, roll or rock yourself up to a seat. And we'll come to sitting in Hero's Pose Virasana with the block, if this works for you. So block between the ankles. Now there's a couple different ways we can do this. All right, you can have two blocks together standing up. And you can sit on the blocks this way. This is fine. All right. And otherwise, block on this big surface area. Squeeze the block between your ankles. And then come into some cat-cow seated. So on your inhale, really lift and let the chin lift and let the back arch. And then on the exhale, round, slide your hands towards your knees and tuck everything in. Inhale, slide your hands back towards your creases of your thighs, arching your back, extend your chest forward, and just do a few rounds of the seated cat-cow. Seated cat-cow. And then we can come off the block or blocks. We'll take our 2 blocks and set them up at the top of the mat and come into a Baddha Konasana. So this could be this doesn't need to be, it could be pretty soft. Knees can be up in the air. Bring your hands behind your back so you can keep your low back in your pelvis tilted anteriorly or forward, hands behind the back. And then press your heels and your big toe mounds together. Really press your feet together firmly. And then isometrically draw your heels back towards your groin. And then release. And then same thing, we're gonna pulse that a little bit. So press heels, big toe mound, and heels back towards groin. back and forth a few times. You'll feel this in your inner leg, I hope. Good. Next time you press the heels together, the big toe mounds together, and you draw the heels isometrically back towards your groin, try to also isometrically draw your knees apart. And release. Again. Release. One more time. All those actions. Good. And release. Good. Okay, now from here, just bring your legs forward. Keep your hands still behind you. And pick up your toes, press your heels into the floor. And feel for this the engagement of your hamstring. Just want you to know that feeling. So you're pressing your heels into the floor, and you're trying to isometrically draw your heels back towards your sit bones. Really feel how the hamstrings engage with the lower butt muscles. Good. And release. Okay. Great. Now you're going to need your a blanket probably to kneel on. So if you're like me and you've got a blanket on your mat, you can fold the blanket up until you have a nice little burrito-ish, flat burrito-ish set up with your blanket. If you were not using the blanket, grab a blanket if you have it. If you don't need it, then you don't need it. And you're going to take your blocks and put them at the front of your mat. Okay. Now, you're just standing on our knees, turning toes under. Can you sort of draw your lower butt muscles down and your hamstrings up, that place where they meet right underneath your butt cheeks? Feel that engagement. Okay. Now, we haven't done this for a while. We're going to balance on the knees. So bring your weight into your left knee and pick your right foot up and step it forward. And then pick it up and bring it back. Put your weight into your right knee. Bring your left foot up, set it forward, and bring it back. Try to be as graceful as possible as you go back and forth. So bringing weight into the left foot, top of the left knee, rather, top of the left foot presses into the floor, lift your right foot up and set it forward. Okay, so now you'll find yourself in proposal pose. Really feel the left leg engaged as you reach forward, drop the hips forward, and bring your hands to your blocks in low lunge. And then just moving back and forth. Moving back and forth with your hips. Front foot, keep the big toe mound engaged in that front foot. And the next time you come forward, we'll stay. Press the top of the back foot into the floor firmly. Lift your pelvic floor. Now you have your hands on the blocks. Isometrically draw your hands back, bringing your shoulder blades in and down, and feel how that opens you through your collarbones and through your upper pecs. Keep working with it. Keep working with it. Good. And then press yourself back up to proposal pose. All right. Now pick up the back foot and swivel the back foot. So it's my left foot. I'm going to swivel it around till it is perpendicular. Back leg is perpendicular to front leg. And my back is to you if you want to peek up here. And then I'm going to bring my front forearm to my front thigh. We'll start there. backhand to hip. Press your foot into the floor, press your forearm into your thigh, press back into your forearm with your thigh, extend top arm up and over. So this is a kneeling extended side angle. If this all feels pretty good to you, you could back off with the top arm, take one of your blocks to the inside of your front foot, hand to the block, press your arm into your leg and your leg back into your arm. So you're just a little deeper in the fold now with your hand down on the block, and try the extended angle here, extended side angle here. So whether you're forearm on the front thigh or hand on a block inside of the front foot, feel the external rotation of the front leg. And then let's everybody take your back hand to your hip, reach back with that arm, externally rotate, point your thumb back behind you, and then sweep your arm back up and over your front ear, your top ear. Good, and inhale, press up. Swivel the back leg back around. Now your weight is on your left knee as you pick your right foot up and bring your knees back together. Woo, good work. All right. Weight into balance on the right knee now. Pick left foot up, bring it forward. Really press the back foot into the floor and find that engagement of your back hamstring, and then come forward, hands to the blocks, Anjaneyasana, low lunge, and then move back and forth with this. Finding some nice movement in your pelvis. How is it now? We'll come forward and hang out here forward. Keep the pelvic floor lifted. Keep pressing the back foot into the floor. Draw shoulder blades down and in. Open through the collarbones. Open the front of the chest. Beautiful, everybody. Hold it for another breath cycle. Good, and then press firmly into your front foot as you inhale back up. Back leg gets swiveled around. So legs are both legs are bent and the legs are perpendicular to one another. Good. And then front forearm on front thigh. Or if you know, you can go down to the block. You can go down to the block inside the front foot. Let's take the back hand back behind us, straight out, and turn the thumb back. So you get that nice external rotation in your arm, and then you come into the side angle, extended side angle on the knees. Breathing into this, relax your head and your neck. And for 2 more rounds of breath here. Good, then inhale, sweep the top arm back. Come back, swivel the back foot. Balancing on your right knee now, bring both knees together. Stand up nice and tall on your knees. Draw shoulders up, down, and back. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Inhale, arms out to a T. Point the thumbs back, really feel that nice external rotation, but draw the lower butt muscles into the hamstrings. You could think about extending your tail here, and then reach arms up, palms face one another. Very nice. And exhale as you fold, hands to the mat in a child's pose variation. And then inhale, come up cow. Exhale, turn toes under, get all 10 toes under, press hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come to cow. Exhale, round and press back, tops of the feet come to the floor, child's pose. Inhale, cow. Turn toes under, all 10 toes, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, drop knees, cow. Exhale, tops of the feet to the floor, press back, child's pose. Inhale to cow. Exhale, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Great. Now, in this downward dog, let's inhale the right leg out behind you. Bend your knee and bring your heel towards your buttocks. And then open that hip. You're trying to stack right hip over left hip. So really draw the left hip in, right? And then stack the right hip over the left hip. Good. Now we're going to rock forward and bring the right knee towards the right elbow and then straighten back out. So three-legged dog, bend the knee, draw the left hip in as you stack right hip over left hip. Then rock forward, bring right knee towards right elbow, in towards your chest, straighten back out. Okay, same action we did on the floor. Bend the knee, stack right hip over left hip. Then rock forward, bringing right knee towards right elbow, in towards your chest, extend back out. Let's do one more. Bend the knee, stack the hips, reach forward with the right knee into your chest, reach your right foot back out and set it down, downward facing dog. Inhale, cow. Exhale, child's pose. Reach your arms up and rest on your fingertips and roll your triceps down towards the floor. Reach your tailbone down towards your toes. Very nice. Inhale, come back to cow. Turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg out. Bend through your left knee, bring your left heel towards your buttocks, and then really suck the right hip in as you stack left hip over right hip. You can try that action a couple times. Just bend your knee again. Really suck the right hip in as you stack left hip over right hip. Keep equal weight on your hands, and then you're gonna do the same thing we did on the floor. You bring your left knee out towards the left side, towards your left elbow, then in underneath your chest, right? Underneath your chest, and straighten the leg back out. Three-legged dog. Bend the knee, stack the hips, bring the knee out around. You're making a circle with your hips. Knees underneath your chest, straighten back out. Try that a couple times. Just making some big circles with the hip. And the next time your left leg is extended, set that foot down, downward facing dog. Good work, everybody. Inhale to cow. And then exhale, set back on your heels. Bring your arms behind your body, interlacing hands behind sacrum, pulling your arms away from your back. You could have opposite wrist with opposite hand here as well. And reach the crown of your head long And then take a fold, let gravity help you lift your arms off your back a little bit more. Great, coming up now and shake it out. Take your blanket away now, but keep it close by for something near the end. And we're going to take the block. I'm going to take this middle width and I'm going to set that between my knees. I'm going to squeeze the block. I'm sitting on my heels. You might need a blanket between your thighs and your heels as well. Squeeze the block with your knees now. Squeeze the block with your knees. Sit up nice and tall. And then walking forward to a fold, but keep squeezing the block. Keep squeezing the block. Any amount of fold is fine. Just keep squeezing the block. Good. Well, move to the right. Squeeze the block. To center. Squeeze the block. And back to center. Come back up now and just switch your orientation. So now you're squeezing the block with your ankles again, Virasana. Great. Whew. Take a couple of breaths here just to orient. And then we're going to press up to downward facing dog. Get that block right between our ankles. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Bend through your knees. And you could have the block, so I could have it up like so, or I can have it down on the floor. I'm going to go for up, and you guys can see this a little better. And then I'm going to stand up into Tadasana. Squeeze the block between my feet. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Feel the action. Feel your, touch your legs. Where is this really engaging as I squeeze the block between my ankles? Hands, palms forward into Tadasana. Good. And let's go ahead and take a deep bend in the knees, doing the same thing in Utkatasana. Squeeze the block between your ankles. Arms forward, Utkatasana. Good. Hold it for 2 more rounds of breath. Good. And then we'll press up and shake that out, bounce it out. And now your block beside your feet. I'm going to start with mine. I'm going to have mine on my most upright position. And I have my block to the left, outside of my left foot. Inhale, reach arms up, and exhale, set hips back, come into Utkatasana. Okay, blocks to the outside of the left foot. I'm going to reach over with the right hand and rest my right hand on the block, left hand on my hip. So I'm going to revolve Utkatasana. Right, this could be where you stay right here. Or you could reach the left arm back, turn your thumb back like you're going to hitchhike, right? So you have this really openness in your upper left chest. And hold that for 3, 2, 1. Inhale back to center. Press up. Release Tadasana. Squeeze. Muscle to bone, lift the kneecaps. Good. Bend your knees and set your block over to the other side. So we're just doing a twisted, a revolved Utkatasana, but we're using the block as a prop. So inhale, sweep arms up, and exhale, set down into your Utkatasana. Block is to the right now. I bring my right hand to hip, left hand to the block. Or 2 blocks. You can stack your blocks one on the other. Great. And then from here, I can stay here or reach the right arm back, turn my thumb towards the midline of my body, like I'm hitchhiking, and open up through the upper right pec. Notice if your feet are lifted up, especially your right foot, keep the big toe mound pressing into the floor. For 3, 2, 1, sweep back through the center, press up, stand up, reach up, release hands, Tadasana. Good, good, good. Here we go. Next thing is we'll take, if you need to bounce or move around or do a sun salutation, do that. And we'll set up with blocks to the long edge of the mat. One on either side. And take big open stance. Great. Here we go. Let's turn the right foot to line up with the long edge of the mat. Turn the left heel out. And then let's just sort of vinyasa the front knee back and up and down here. We're going to go into triangle, Trikonasana. So there's several ways to move into Trikonasana. You could start with your front knee bent, reach the front arm, and then straighten the front leg. Okay, I kind of like that way to go in. You could start with the legs straight, press the hips back, and sweep the front ribs forward. But see if you can, some of us will be here, hand on thigh. Some of us will be hand on shin. Some of us will be hand on ankle. Or you can have your block to the outside of your lower leg. But feel for that front leg really externally rotating at the same time as you press into your big toe mound. Spin your belly towards me and have your left hand, your top hand, on your hip. Then reach your top hand back, straight back towards the wall behind you. Hitchhiker thumbs, so external rotation in the upper arm. Then stack your shoulders. Breathe here. Keep your neck long. Great. Now bring your back hand back to your hip. And if you need to change your orientation in your room to use some furniture here, we're going to move to Ardha Chandrasana. So if you're in the middle of the room, you can bend through your front knee and bring your back foot up halfway, reach the block forward so that it is outside of your right foot and about a foot forward. And then as you straighten the front leg, you lift the back leg. And the hips are stacked just like when we were in three-legged dog. Top hand rests on your hip. Reach back with the top hand towards the back wall. Hitchhiker thumb. So that top arm is in external rotation and you're stacking the shoulders. Now, you could also have your bottom hand or your front hand on a piece of furniture, on the wall. So really going for feeling the action of the standing leg is in external rotation. The lifted leg is neutral. To come out, bend through the standing leg. Set your back foot back. Straighten the legs, turn both feet, jump together, and bounce it out. Really into this bouncing or dancing these days, right? Bounce it out. Let everything be loose. Take a sun salutation. Yep, we're all in our living rooms. Nobody sees us. And let's go to the other side. Beautiful. So feet nice and wide, turn the left foot out, turn the right heel out. And again, you decide, you could, it's vinyasa, this, just get into our front knee a little bit. And then you could start with the front leg bent, reaching, and then straightening. Or you could start with both legs straight in a more upright position, draw hips back, reach side ribs forward. Whatever way you go in, see if you can really sense this front leg externally rotating. Hand to shin or thigh or ankle or blocks. It's all going to be different because we all have different bodies. Backhand to hip. Reach the backhand straight back. Turn the thumb back towards the back space behind you, like you're hitchhiking. Keep that strength in your legs, stack shoulders. You got it. You got it. And then from here we transition. So we're going to transition again to the Ardha Chandrasana. And I'm going to bend through my front leg. Maybe you're going to find a piece of furniture to use. If not, if you're in the middle of the room, you scoop the back foot up a little bit, reach the block forward and outside of the front leg. Simultaneously, straighten the front leg as you lift the back leg. Turn your torso, your belly towards me. Press equally through top leg and standing leg, equally. Reach your arm back, turn the thumb. Get that external rotation in the top arm, then stack shoulders. Okay, we come out the same way we went in. So we can bring hand back to hip, bend through the front knee, kind of reach the back foot back, straighten up, turn both feet, jump the feet together, jump a little, bounce a little, get the fascial system working a little bit. Woo, shake it out. And here we go. Let's look at final standing posture, Vrksasana. Tree pose, couple options. And I have a block here beside my feet. I'm gonna I have my block beside my left foot. So if you just want to go to standard tree, go for it. But I really want you to think about when you bring the lifted leg up, externally rotate that thigh, externally rotate that thigh, then press it into calf, or just rest it on the block like so. Because really it's balance, and we always work balance, but it's external rotation of that lifted leg that I want you to think about. So you could bring your foot into your leg, just like we did on the floor. Press those two body parts together really firmly. Now let's get some openness in the upper body. So arms out to T and thumbs behind. Let your shoulder blades drop down your back and in. Woo. We've got openness through the upper body and through the lifted leg hip. And if you have your foot down here, we still have that openness in the outer hip. Release. Shake it out, jump it out, walk around your space. And we'll try the other side. So really find groundedness through the foot. You lift the leg first and find that external rotation. We did the same thing on the floor, right? Find that external rotation, and then it's into calf, resting on block, or into your upper thigh. Press the foot into the thigh into the foot. You could even bend the standing leg, woo, maybe, and re-straighten and pull that outer butt muscle in. Open arms. Greeting the world with a big yes, appropriate yes. Ah, beautiful, everyone. Beautiful. Stick with it. A couple more breaths. Feel wobbly. Give a little more fierceness. Release. Jump it out. Go back and forth. Walk through your space. Do a sun salutation. We'll meet on the ground in a seat. Okay. So now this is where the blanket is going to come back into play. And I've got the length of my blanket, and then I'm going to fold it in half again. I think that's going to be about right. And I'm going to have my blocks handy as well. I'll show this in two different orientations. So we called it, this is sort of a variation of pigeon, sometimes called a Z sit. So I'm going to have my my right knee forward like I'm going into pigeon, with my right heel towards my groin. And I'm going to bring my blanket around and set my right hip underneath. My left leg is behind me and bent at about a 45-degree angle, so that the two legs together make the letter Z. So the front leg and the back leg make a letter Z. And then I turn my upper body to face, to kind of square off to the front leg. I'm lined up with the short edge of my mat, but you might not necessarily be there. And I'll show you a different orientation as well, because you're seeing my side orientation right now. Hands either to the floor or to the blocks, so that you can be upright. Open through the chest, drop shoulder blades down and in. And now if that feels like too much, twist, just offset your blocks, right? So that they're more right in front of the bent front leg, if that makes sense. And I'll turn around so that you can see me from the front. Got my legs in this Z pattern. And it's a variation. If you think pigeon, it's a variation of pigeon. And if it's too much in the twist, just bring the blocks right here in front of the front leg. But do open up through the heart space. Now, when we come out, if you got the blocks, just set the blocks aside. I'm starting to slide off my blanket, bring both knees to the front. So now the leg that was behind me, the top of that foot rests into the sole of the other foot. And I've got the same hip sort of on the edge of my blanket. So it looks like this. I'm looking at you full face on. Right? So my knees are bent and both feet are over to my left. One foot cradling the other. And then I just take a twist to the right. We've done this movement before. Can you reach the right arm back? Find that external rotation in your arm. So like you're going to hitchhike, you pressing your thumb into midline, and then bring your right fingertips back down to the floor behind you. So you're really opening the right pectorals. winter, and especially this winter, it's been cold. We're inside a lot. We're hunched over our devices, and or we're doing crafts or whatever, but we're inside, and we want to open the upper chest, open the lower back. So we've been sitting a lot. Okay, now we unwind and go slightly, just a little twist in the opposite direction, just to counter. Great. And then you can take both legs forward. You have to kind of resituate yourself on the blanket. Now you're in Dandasana with the hips lifted slightly. So we keep that nice curve in the back. Just here, press heels into the floor. Okay. And now you should be able to switch the orientation. So now it's left knee bent with left foot coming in towards the groin, and the right leg goes back. And you've got this Z pattern with your legs. Everybody can see that. Blocks in the front as you kind of twist into this, or if the twist feels too much in your body this morning or this evening, blocks right here, right in front of this bent front leg. Draw your shoulder blades in and down. Very nice, everyone. And we do the same thing to come out. All right, we're gonna slide both knees now to the right, and my left hip stays on the blanket, and I cradle my right foot in the sole of my left foot. But I got my hips supported on the edge of the blanket. Now to twist to the left arm back, point the thumb in, see if you can really get nice external rotation in the arm. Bring the arm back down, left side of the chest, open, open, open. One more full breath. Release, little counter twist. Great, and then come to center, both legs long. You should be kind of propped up on your blanket still. So I've got that forward tilt of my pelvis in the Dandasana. Press heels into the floor. Beautiful, everyone. Then we just slide off the prop, set the prop aside. Maybe you use it for your Shavasana. Bend your knees, drop to forearms, come down into Shavasana, and boom de boom. Let everything go. If there's something else you need, take it. Otherwise, tuck shoulder blades under. Really press into the back of your head and tuck your shoulder blades under, so you have this really openness through your chest. I know it's vulnerable, but see if you can go there. If it feels okay to have straight legs. If you need to bend your knees, you could take the soles of your feet to the floor and let your knees rest together. And then find some stillness here in your Shavasana. Soften your hands. Soften your eyes, so there's no pursing in the edges of your eyes. and soften the space between your brow, the mental grasping. Everything is waiting for you. There's no hurry. I'm going to close us with 3 ohms, and you are welcome to come up to your seat at any time and join, or just allow the vibration to soothe you in your Shavasana. At the end of the 3 ohms, I'll stop the recording. Namaste.